League of Our Own is back with myself, Goran, and that guy, the big unit himself, Adam Blairy. Good to see you, man. How's your week been?
Week's been good, Goran. It's awesome to see you, bro. And I love this time of the week where we talk about rugby league and everything, obviously, Warriors and Kiwi players in NRL. Week's been good. Rugby league, man, it doesn't stop, and it's a game that keeps on giving.
Yeah, and it's giving us injury. And the
Isn't
main
it?
one for the Warriors, it's a massive out as they head into the Tigers this Sunday night. And for the next 8 weeks, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, yeah, we usually talk about whether he's a centre, a winger, or a fullback. Well, he is injured. A high-grade hamstring tear, rip, whatever you want to call it. He's done for 2 months. This is huge news for the Warriors, mate, and what they might be able to achieve in the 2 months without him. You've lost Dallin Watene-Zelezniak already, so the
Yep.
Warriors are without their 2 first-choice wingers for the next 2 months. It's a huge injury blow, isn't it?
Massive. I think if you look at their game too, Goran, I know everyone's celebrating those moments that he come up with that try-saving tackle, all those effort areas from Mark where he's worked hard and he's done his hammy. And I guess the decision that he had to make to be able to do a 2-on-1 and make the right decision to hedge his bets and make that tackle, and or it be some sort of effort under, I guess, a hammy strain. And it's now become a big problem, I think, for the Warriors. Is he's been a key part, I think, to the Warriors' success this year so far. And it's going to be hard to fill his shoes. And like you said, we've always spoken about Roger, about what position he is on the field. Now they're not going to be without him for 2 months, and I think that's a bigger loss than the conversation about moving him around in what position.
Life without Roger for a bit. We know what he does with his carries and the meters and how he challenges the defensive line. The Warriors, do they have a player like that in their ranks? No, I don't think you
No.
could say that they do. So when you look at all of the guys who might be considered, Ed Kossi is a completely different operator. He's a big body who just tries to steamroll people. Taintua Piki is probably the closest thing you've got to Roger, but he's a smaller physique, isn't he? He's more
Definitely.
diminutive. So he's trying to beat people with footwork, but he doesn't have the same kind of power that Roger has. They've gone with Rocco Berry coming into the centres for the Tigers match, which is a huge inclusion.
Yep.
And then the ever-versatile Wets, Adam Pompey, he is in the wing position. He started for the Warriors 17 times on the wing. But I think you and I, we kind of like Wets as a centre as opposed to a winger, right?
Definitely, I think Wets is a great centre, but I guess the issue Wets has and Adam Pompey has is that he's pretty versatile with those positions. And I think someone like Roger and Chance could say the same thing, that they can play a few different positions and do a half decent job. But the inclusion of Rocco Berry is a great story. I think he's been on the sidelines for a fair bit after 2024, and I think he had a bit of some damage in his shoulder. And
Yeah.
I've been watching his progress from afar in his games of late with New South Wales Cup, and he's done a really good job at it. So he is one person that deserves to be in that position. I think he's worked his butt off to get back in there, but when he was in there, he was doing an awesome job in that centre position. And alongside Ali Lautau, I think they're the next crop of centres coming through that the Warriors do have that are exciting for the club. But I guess Adam Pompey moves out to the wing. You got Edward Kossi there. But I'm guessing they're staying with some consistency and only moving around or bringing in one person, so there's not too much change.
Can I tell you the 2 things I like most about Rocco Berry, the real big dog?
Yep, go for it.
Kick chase and
Yep.
defence.
Yep.
Because whenever Sean Johnson was kicking long, Rocco Berry was the first guy there to greet the guy bringing the ball back.
Definitely.
His kick chase is almost unrivaled when it comes to the Warriors squad. And then in defence, he made a lot of Sean Johnson's tackles, didn't he?
Oh.
So his work ethic is right up there, isn't it?
Yep.
And it's, like, am I right in saying he's still learning the trade, really? It's only been a few years that he's been in the game of rugby league. He has a rugby background, but he's just getting better and better. So, and to your point about Rocco Berry, Ali Lautawa being the future of the Warriors centres, it's really nice to have at least 3 guys, because you throw Adam Pompey in the mix, vying for those positions. So, the depth in that squad, in that position, it's only going to be beneficial for the Warriors long term.
Well, it's competition, Goran. And that's what breeds success in every club and every position, is that if you have people knocking on the door to come and get your position, it only makes the person in front of you accountable for everything that he does. And the Warriors are lucky in those, and I guess in that centre position, that there is a couple of guys that can actually push each other to be better. And at the moment, I think, to have those 2 young centres, Rocco Berry and Ali Lautoa, like you said, I think Rocco Berry's got so much more to his game than what we've been able to see. The problem and what's happened with Rocco in the past is he'll string a handful of games together and then he'll come up with an injury, which obviously is a detriment to what he's been able to, his momentum that he can create through having some consistent game time on the field. So I guess now he's got an opportunity there. He's back from injury. He can try and hold this position down, and I think those 2 boys could do a good job for the Warriors this weekend.
Yeah, up against the Tigers, who, after playing in the Spoon Bowl last year, I'm wondering if the Tigers, under Benji Marshall, with a number of high-profile recruits in the last couple of years, have they turned things around here, Blairy? I'm wondering if they are now a top 8 team, currently residing in the top 4, 2 wins from their 3 matches. The thing that offsets it for me personally is the fact that they've come up against 2 teams that are yet to win games. They've beaten the Dolphins and they've beaten the Eels. And they narrowly lost to your Newcastle Knights. So I'm wondering if it's a slightly inflated position that they find themselves in, but the manner of their victory has been very, very compelling. In particular, their defensive efforts. I know we'll probably rave about their attack with Api Coruscant and Jerome Luai in a moment, but defensively, they have put in a massive shift. I think they were averaging something like 31 points per game, and now in 3 games, they've conceded 34 across the board. So that is a noticeable shift in their defensive mentality. I'm wondering, man, are they now a top 8 team, or have we gone off too early here? After 3 weeks.
I think there's been, I guess, a couple of teams that I don't think have really, challenged them enough. But you've got to give credits where credit's due, I think, is that you can only play what you have in front of you. And I look back to last week's game against your team, the Eels. And
do we have to dredge it up?
I think the Tigers of old would have folded and they would have come back, and Eels may have won that game, or even the week before, similar thing of the Tigers of old would have given everything up and not allowed other teams to come through. But the biggest shift, and you said it, Goran, is their defence. It's been something that they've built their last 3 games on, and we all know in the circles of rugby league that defence wins competitions. They're sitting at the top of the competition for defence, and as any coach would be, I guess, excited is that, and especially the Tigers, especially from what they've been able to do just this year. Like that's exciting for any coach, and Benji Marshall and the direction that they're trying to go to. I guess we've spoken about Benji in our last season about how hard it's been for him and the pressure that he must be on, and him going to Fiji and taking holidays.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but drop him because he went on holiday. In a bye week.
But rugby league is quick to forget about the past, and everyone moves pretty quickly. And the biggest conversation here in Australia is, the West Tigers defence, and you got to give them more credit because they're actually going after it.
Yeah, it must be really cool for those involved in the club, or who have been involved in the club over the last 2-3 seasons, to actually have some positive news stories, because you're right, it has been an absolute dog's breakfast for a while, and everybody has been copying it at different points along that journey. Yep. And so to now have 2 out of 3 wins, really good defence, and some seriously positive signs in their attack, must be something to really relish and cherish, the fact that they're getting some good headlines in there as well. One thing that must be said is that this coming Sunday, Tigers and Warriors, the Warriors' ruck defence has to be on high alert because with Api and Talon De Silva, that 1-2 punch, and they are two different players. Api with his deception and those jinking, jiving runs, and Talon just gets on there and runs. Yeah, there's no sense of self-preservation. He's not trying to do anything clever. No. He's just trying to make meters. And so I think that's probably going to be a key aspect to the Warriors stopping the Tigers in their tracks.
I think definitely they'll be on high alert. You're high alert anyway when you play against the West Tigers because you've got Api Coruscant who sits around that 9 position, who is so creative and has so much deception around the middle of the park. But then you got Jerome Luai as well, who likes to come off his left foot. If you're not tying in from the inside, he'll come off his left foot. He'll challenge the defensive line every time he carries the ball. But then you got the young kid Lockie Galvin, who just plays footy, puts himself in positions, carries the ball all the time. Jerome Buller sitting at the back. So they got an exciting team, the West Tigers, but the Warriors have got a challenge on their hands, but also for the West Tigers to see where they actually sit in this competition.
I always chuckle at how difficult the NRL just tends to be. Every week that goes by, from a Warriors perspective, you can make a case for, well, this is a very, very difficult game. You know, outside of the Raiders game in Vegas, where I thought, well, they're going up against a team that everybody is saying is going to run last. I didn't have any fears for that game, and then they got towelled up. I was scared of the Seagulls after what they did in round one, scared of the Roosters after what they did to the Penrith Panthers, and now Warriors fans should be scared of the Tigers for what they've been doing over the last 3 weeks. So there is no easy game in the NRL, is there?
No, that's what I was thinking, Goran. Like, it's hard to pick, I guess, what team's going to turn up, especially on the back of their previous performances. And I think every team besides Parramatta.
Come on, man. Look, we've been rubbish. We have been rubbish. I'm going to give that to you. That's fine.
You know
what?
Fine. I try to keep a real straight face.
And then all of a sudden, the pearly whites.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, so I think
back on track, Blairy. Back on track, mate.
When you look over the competition and you've watched from round 1 to where we are now, round 3, and heading into round 4, it's definitely one of the toughest competitions I think to date when it comes to I guess when you watch someone perform really well. Say for example the Manly Sea Eagles at PointsBet. And then they go over to New Zealand. And like you said, there would have been no way you would have thought that the Warriors are going to win after the performance and what Manly did at home. But the Warriors go on and get a job done, and they've been so good at it since. So really tough to pick this one. And I guess the fans, it keeps them on the edge. It keeps them guessing. It keeps them thinking about what Warriors team's going to turn up, or what Tigers team's going to turn up. Because I'll tell you what, Goran, there's a lot of, I guess, Polynesian Kiwis inside that Tigers team as well. And there'll be a mixed group of fans cheering for the Warriors and also the West Tigers.
You're right, mate. The only constant in the NRL to this point is the Eels are going to lose. But look, we won't talk too much about the Eels, and we'll leave Dylan Brown alone for 1 week, mate. And I want to actually pose a question to Andrew Webster. He's clearly listening, because a couple of weeks ago you challenged.
He's clearly listening.
He's always listening. It's his favourite podcast, mate.
Yeah.
You spoke about how important the Warriors bench is going to be this year, and then at another time you queried whether we were having too many minutes and too much effort with the two big boys up front, James Fisher-Harris and Mitch Barnett. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like there's been a shift that's occurred where last game out, you had, and I'll just read this so I don't get this incorrect, James Fisher-Harris, 48 minutes, down from his 58 the previous week. Mitch Barnett played 49 minutes against the Roosters, down from his mammoth 62 the previous week. And then from the bench, you had Leka Halasima playing 30 minutes, 89 metres. That was up from his previous 19. And then Jackson Ford, who I thought was really bloody good, he played 62 minutes, which almost doubled his 32 from the week prior. So, Webby, you're welcome. Blairy, the floor is yours, mate.
I think the proof is in the pudding, Goran. Like, I know it's. I guess as a coach, it's actually hard to get your interchange right and make sure that you move people around at the right times of the game, depending on the game style that's happening, whether you've got the ball and you've got the momentum or you're trying to get the momentum back. But I think when you pick a 17 and an 18, every single person in that team, you fully trust them that they can get the system and the processes right. You clearly see the talent and the skill and the athleticism that Leka Haleasima has, and Dimitrik, who's been enormous for the Warriors and has only grown into those positions. And I guess what it ends up doing, Goran, it gives them confidence in themselves first and foremost, and that they can actually play at that level. And the more minutes they get on the field, the more confident they become. So the more you minimize their time on the field, they just become passengers. And they watch from afar, and they always wonder, how can I make a difference? So, credit where credit's due. They got that opportunity to be able to perform, and that Roosters team's a tough team. They work hard. They try their best. They got some outstanding players in there, but so are the players that they have on the Warriors bench, and it's just great to see those four boys get on and make a difference, because we all know, and I'm guessing fans know that as well, that those boys can be damaging players for the Warriors. And we talk about, those future centres, Ali Lautoa and Rocco Berry, like Leka and Dimitrik are the future of the Warriors. They are the future of the Warriors, and one day those guys will be starting for the Warriors, and there'll be some younger kids coming through, and those guys will play an important role for the Warriors throughout the season, not only in this game recently, but what it does, it's going to give them confidence. It's going to give the coach confidence. It's going to give his teammates confidence, and give the individual confidence that he can get a job done.
The player that automatically comes to mind when I listen to you talking there, Blairy, when you speak of confidence and almost lack of confidence when you're not given an opportunity, because maybe your self-belief is diminished somewhat when you're not getting big minutes, you're not getting those opportunities, is Bunty Afoa.
Yeah.
A guy who has played a lot of NRL, but he's not been allowed to become the guy because of limited opportunities along the way. And I suppose the other thing that sort of might feed into a perceived lack of confidence for Bunty is that there was once a time where the Warriors said to him, well, we don't need you. And he fought really hard, and he managed to convince them differently, and he's still there. And
I think it was off his back of his ACL, I think, Goran.
Yeah. I just wonder how different Bunty would be as a player if he had have received more opportunities, bigger minutes along the way.
Yeah, well, I think you can chuck a couple other players into that category too. Jacob Laban, Tom Ali. These guys have sat in behind for a long time. But again, as a coach, Goran, you can only take 18 players, every week, and 17 normally take the field at some point in time. So not everyone can be selected. But again, yeah, I think Bunty's a cult hero. The fans love Bunty. I know they would turn up to watch that New South Wales Cup team play early in the day, and you see the likes of Tom Ali and Bunty and Jacob Laban doing their thing out on Go Media Stadium, just not in the NRL team. So I think there's a handful of players there, and I named those three in particular because I think they are and have been a big part of the Warriors. And I think someone like Jacob Laban has a bright future. I love what he brings to a team. But again, the minimal opportunity. Tom Ali, I think it's been a fair while now that he's been in their system. I remember he was right close to time of playing NRL around the 2020 COVID year and spent a lot of time as either 18th man or playing cup for half a game and those kind of things. So he is one player that's missed a lot of rugby league when it comes to NRL space, where he sat at 18th man a lot. And I guess, every kid's dream is to play in a row and be at that top level consistently every week. And I guess, I don't know if he's not for the Warriors or he doesn't fit into their systems or structures. I guess that's something that, Tom will have to, sit down with the club and say, where do I sit in this team? And it'll be something like Bunty and maybe Jacob as well. But, when you look at those back rowers, Marata obviously being one, and who's the other one out there? Kurt Capewell's the other one out there. I think Jacob Laban can't be too far off getting an opportunity to play consistent football at the NRL. So a lot of work in the background, but yeah, there's some unfortunate players sitting behind a few of those players at the minute. But again, the game of rugby league, you just got to be patient and keep working hard, and then maybe that opportunity comes.
We've been really patient with the judges of the Dally M because last year we sort of put them on blast. You've got to start recognising Kiwi players. You've got to start recognising Warriors players. If they play well, where are their 6-point maximums? That's happened for Warriors players not once but twice. So you go back to round 2 and Luke Metcalf picked up maximum points for his efforts against the Sea Eagles. And then Chance Nickel-Klukstar, the guy who is a little bit up and down in the fullback position, he was up and away. His efforts against the Roosters, they were immense. 30 runs for 316 metres.
Crazy.
He had a line break, 2 try assists, 7 tackle breaks. This is the Chance Nickel-Klukstar that I want to see week after week play for the New Zealand Warriors. I suppose Chance's real battle is finding that consistency. You're probably not going to put up these kinds of numbers week in, week out, but I'd like to see him get somewhere close to that, right?
He's definitely capable, Goran. He's definitely capable of getting those numbers. That was a mammoth performance from Chance, and there's always people questioning whether he's right for that fullback position. And I think we've said it plenty of times before that he doesn't do an attack what Roger Tuivasa-Sheck does. But defensively, he's sound at what he does. He gets people into positions. He puts his body on the line. So, a la, the Roger Tuivasa-Sheck hammy jumped in his way, tried to get him out, and then obviously Chance finishes him off. But he gives confidence to people around him to be able to play at their best week in, week out. And I think that's the biggest thing with Chance is he makes people around them, I guess, accountable but better. But like you said, it's consistency because the NRL ain't a game to not be consistent. But when we come to getting these points, Goran, if we have too many good players on the field, and I'm saying this, if we have too many good players on the field in the Warriors, they're going to be taking points off each other.
Yeah,
they're going to be taking points off each other. So if Chance is having a good game and Luke Metcalf's having a good game, they're going to be splitting points all the time. So I think that year, what year was that one? That 2023 year.
Kalen Ponga,
where there was so many consistent performances from the wingers playing their best seasons of their career to the half being the best half in the competition until Dally M nights. They're going to end up taking points off them. But I guess the biggest picture for a lot of those players is, yes, it's nice to be able to get that award at the end of the year, but the bigger picture is winning that trophy and winning the competition.
Yeah, and I mentioned the name Kalen Ponga in 23 because, I suppose the argument you make there is that there weren't enough players able to take points off of Kalen that year. And
correct.
That's why he winds up with the Dally M on the back of only a handful of games and robs Sean Johnson. And I suppose you can make a similar argument for Jerome Hughes last year because he was one of the only constants in the Melbourne Storm spine. Even though they made the grand final, their spine was out of alignment most weeks, right? You had Pappenhausen out, you had Munster out, Harry Grant missed a few games, and so therefore, if the Melbourne Storm are winning games, it's all down to Jerome Hughes. So
definitely,
yeah, you talk about Chance and the numbers and wanting to replicate that week in, week out. He will feel some pressure to do exactly that because of who is out in the back line.
Definitely.
And the way that the Warriors start their sets, and they use Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, and they use Roger Tuivasa-Sheck early in the count, and now all of a sudden you don't have those two absolute weapons at your disposal, Chance is going to take on even more of the workload. So, yeah, that pressure is only going to build on him.
Well, Roger takes a lot of those carries too. He's been getting up around 200 plus meters consistently, averaging every game. So who fills in that void when he's not there? I can't say Adam Pompey does the amount of carries that he does. I'm not going to say Ali Lautaro does it. Rocco Berry doesn't do it either. So there's going to be a heavy reliance again on Chance to try and replicate that similar effort.
Yeah.
But I think, when I look at it, you can, there's no I in team. And I think collectively, they're going to have to work better. They're going to have to work better their back five. And collectively, if they can carry 10 carries each per game, they can actually do a better job collectively as a group. So rather than rely on the individual of Chance, which I think Chance will take it as a challenge anyway, because he's pretty meticulous with his processes and his systems and how everything works, and I guess crossing the T's, dotting the I's. I think he'll take it on as a challenge, but I think collectively as a back five, they need to work as one to try and create something similar to, I guess, last week's performances as a group.
We started off our chat talking about an injured Roger, and there are a number of Kiwis injured out of round 3 results at the weekend. Jerome Hughes, Nelson Asofa-Solomona, they are both missing for the Melbourne Storm this coming weekend. And a huge loss for the Gold Coast Titans, who had previously lost Kieran Foran, another Kiwi. Keanu Kinney is out with a neck injury. So the Kiwis are falling by the wayside, Blairy. On Keanu, how bad is his neck injury, and how soon will we see him back?
Yeah, I try to flick my phone around and flick a couple of messages out to a few people I know.
Any success?
But I think, it's not bad. That's what I got.
It's not bad. Okay.
Everything in rugby league's not bad. You know what I mean? You can have a broken jaw, bro, and I say, he's only got a broken jaw. He'll be right.
Could have been worse.
What I mean?
Could have lost his head.
Yeah. So in rugby league, nothing's major unless you miss the season. So I think he'll be fine. But I guess for us and for me as part of the Kiwis, we always keep an eye on our Kiwi players in the competition. And I guess this is what our podcast, League of Own's all about, Kiwi players in the competition as well as Warriors. But so it's important for not only myself, but us to be able to understand what's happening with these players. And yeah, he's a superstar. He is an absolute superstar and a weapon for the Gold Coast Titans. And, they're running around 3 fullbacks, and he's managing to hold down that fullback position and doing a really good job at it too. And I guess he's something similar to where the fullbacks are moving to, small, short and fast and elusive. And he'll be sorely missed for sure. He does a lot of work, tough for a small fella. I think everyone tries to get stuck into him, but gets the job done. So let's hope that they're not without him for too long, because he's definitely a key strike for the Gold Coast Titans.
Shall we rip into Betcha This Happens as we wind things down?
Yeah, why not?
I was doing so well last week as well with Betcha This Happens for round 3. I had the first 4 results, and then bang, 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 it was all over. Courtesy of the Dolphins, of course the Eels lose, and the Knights went down as well. So I picked 5 from 8, but of course no success in the multi. So we do it all again with Betcha This Happens for round number 4. And it starts on a Thursday night with the Rabbitohs and the Panthers. The Panthers without Nathan Cleary, and they've had a backline reshuffle as well, Blairy.
Pre Nathan Cleary was Jerome Luai, who done an awesome job with the Penrith Panthers and knows the system inside out. But I just don't see them being able to be strong enough. And I like what South Sydney are doing. I think they're being really competitive. I just can't see them getting the job done, the Panthers.
So let's go to the South Sydney Rabbitohs for the win there. As we move on to the Roosters and the Titans,
I think they can still get a job done without Keanu Kinney at the back there, because I think they've got enough strike to be able to challenge the Roosters. They're a team, the Gold Coast Titans, that are unpredictable. They play a lot of off the cuff Brian Kelly style type of football where you get in the tackle and throw an offload. So I definitely think they've got enough strike to go to Allianz and beat the Roosters.
all right, you've convinced me. Titans it is. Titans have edged the Roosters, in my opinion. Now we go to the Dolphins and the Broncos. Suncorp Stadium, big rivalry. In its infancy, but I mean, the fans turn out for this one. The Broncos are heavy favourites.
Hell, what about Payne Haas?
Oh, Payne Haas.
Oh,
Yeah.
What's he eat?
I don't know. What does he eat? How does he train? He's not a prop. He's like an incredible utility. He's like the Swiss Army man.
Oh, he's a beast, and you got a couple of old heads sitting and guiding that team around, and I just think they're going to be a tough team as the season gets on to come across, because as long as they have Payne Haas in there and Paddy Carrigan, they've got some great younger guys around them as well, although I feel like they're still young as well, and then led by a couple of the two of the oldest players in the competition alongside DCE. And they can just play footy off the back of that. So I think Friday Night Lights at Suncorp, the Broncos will be excited for this one. They want to reign their dominance in Queensland. They've picked up the Cowboys. They're going to try and get the Dolphins, and when they get a chance, they'll try and clean up the Titans as well.
Yeah, Broncos lock that one in. Dragons and the Storm. I think it's a pretty simple Melbourne Storm for that one.
Yeah, let's just go with the Melbourne Storm, my bro.
Maybe a little bit tighter with the Cowboys and the Raiders. The Raiders have been up and down. Ricky's been moaning about referees not doing their job properly, but not actually referencing the referee. He doesn't want to be fined or anything like that.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head about Ricky. We seem to find ourselves talking about Ricky a lot for some reason.
Have you called him yet since he got back from Vegas?
I haven't got around. I feel like he's always in an angry mood.
You need to catch him on a good day.
I want to see him smiling and go, okay, there's an opportunity. I can talk to Ricky now, because he obviously complained about the rules of the game and the no six against. But just quickly on the Canberra Raiders, if you play a style of football where you try and bully others, and have an aggressive mindset, you're going to give away 6 against. There's no doubt in my mind that you're going to give away 6 against, because it's numbers in the tackle. It's trying to be slow out of the ruck. It's trying to slow down the ruck. You're trying to obviously take away the meters gained from opposition. There's going to be bodies everywhere, and at times it's going to get ugly. And when you get ugly, you get 6 against. It's simple. It's not a hard game, rugby league. But I guess when you're on the other end of the scoreboard, things like that seem to, I guess, arc people up, and they want to ask questions around why we're getting, we have 6 and they have 0. It's a fair question, because not every team's that clean, Goran. So, it is a fair question. But I feel like if you play a style where you try and bully other teams and play an aggressive style of football defensively, that at times that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to say that at where they're playing at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville, that it's an opportunity for the Cowboys to kickstart their season.
Okay.
They can't be happy sitting down the bottom of the table alongside the Parramatta Eels, surely.
Oh, what am I going to do here? Cowboys or Raiders? You've convinced me. I'm going Cowboys. Sharks and the Bulldogs. After the Bulldogs... Look, the Bulldogs defended really well in the second 40 of that match against the Eels, but I don't know if the Parramatta side were overly creative in what they did on attack. Not convinced by them, but I am convinced by the Sharks. Lock them in for a win against the Dogs this weekend.
I think that Sharks team, like you said, is going to be a top 4 team, is going to be competing at the back end of the season. They've obviously added Fanua Blake. Trindle's playing some outstanding football. He's putting them into positions. Kale Iro out wide. Ronaldo, the style of football they play to score some of their tries on the weekend, making breaks from in behind their goal.
Oh, yeah, that was outrageous from Ronaldo.
The Dogs are going to have to be at their defensive best to be able to beat this Cronulla Sharks at home. But I just think at home, Shark Stadium, it'll be the game of the round for me.
And the non-game of the round has got to be the Sea Eagles and the Eels. There's a lot of talk around Daly Cherry Evans. He's not going to be at the Manly Sea Eagles next year. Look, I've already moved on from the game. I'm picking the Sea Eagles to win that one. But on Daly, where do you think he's going to wind up?
Oh.
Because there's a thought that he's going to play on. He's clearly not going to be part of a club's future plans if he departs the Sea Eagles. You get my drift? So it's kind of like a stopgap measure if you invest in Daly Cherry Evans. What's your take on this situation, man?
I think, he's been, what's he at, 330? I think he's at 33 games and still playing the best footy of his life, and looks like he's enjoying it and has been healthy as any other player that's played 300 games in the competition. And as the games have gotten on, the halfbacks have become protected species out in the field. It wouldn't have lasted long if they kept going the way the game was going, which is okay. So his body is fine. My gut feeling, just a gut feeling, Goran, is that I feel like he's going to finish up at the end of the year.
Okay.
That's just a gut feeling. I don't know anything, but I just think,
haven't got the inside word.
Someone that's done so much for one club and has seen the game change over the times and has played so much state football, international football, club football, every single game throughout his whole career, I don't think there's much more for him to do other than bring a team up from the bottom. But do you do that as an older person, or do you go somewhere where there's already halves already? And if I think about it, Roosters obviously are always going to be in the market for someone like that, and they can build around someone like Cherry Evans. But it's just a stopgap for the next year or two, so that they can bring someone through. So my gut feeling is I feel like Daly will finish up at the end of the year, and Sea Eagles will be there or thereabouts come finals time in the top 8, and hopefully go out on a high and play. But yeah, they're at Four Pines. They're a different beast at Four Pines Park, man. There must be something on the grass that makes only Manly players faster than what they actually are, that they can get a win. So I think, Manly are going to be too strong.
You'd know a thing or two about the Brookvale turf, wouldn't you?
It was the worst when I was playing there. The worst field in the competition. The worst field in the competition. It wasn't the best grounds, as in stadium and stuff like that, and changing rooms. We were spoiled as NRL players, Goran. You get to play at Suncorp Stadium, you get to play at Amy Park, like you get the best of the best. And Brookvale has changed a fair bit over the time, but coming through, not the place you'd want to go and play footy anyway.
Yeah,
but you have to.
There's a charm factor about it, though, eh? We love these suburban grounds from the past.
Definitely.
Hey?
It has culture. It's real, and fans love it.
And so from Brookie to Campbelltown, where we see the Tigers and the New Zealand Warriors late on a Sunday night, where the Tigers are favourites at the bookies. What way are you leaning?
I think the Tigers.
Yeah.
I think the Tigers at home. It's going to be a tough ask for the Warriors. You've got to get over to Campbelltown. It's Sunday afternoon. It's a long week. They're going to have to come over a little bit earlier. It's going to be a challenge in front of their home fans. But again, how do you write the Warriors off the back of their last 2 performances at home? They have been dominant. So if they can... Now, hold on a minute. I'm taking it back. If they can resurrect what they did the last 2 weeks. Without Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Chance Kluksta goes out there and does 350 meters, they'll get this win.
350. Okay.
350
Wow.
meters. I think the Warriors forward pack is going to be the dominant team on Sunday evening.
Yeah, when you look at the Warriors forward pack, I believe that is where the difference is, because you've got top quality representative players, not across the board, but in key positions. Fish, Mitch, Kurt Capewell. Like, honestly,
Aaron Clark's playing enormous.
Yeah. And so, by comparison, the Tigers pack outside of Api Coruscant, and I don't want to be disrespectful, it is, on paper, a pack of no-names, essentially, or people who haven't proven themselves and haven't made that step up to representative level. And so I think the Warriors go there with a game plan of bash them through the middle and let Metcalf and Chanel Harris-Tavita do the rest. And it doesn't matter that you don't have Roger and you don't have Dallin Wataniza-Lesniak. If you've got a firing Chance Nickel-Klukstad out the back and a forward pack that's dominant, maybe they go to Campbelltown and they tip up the Tigers. So I'm backing the Warriors. I think they can make it 3 in a row.
Yeah, they'll have to be spot on with their kicking game, kicking to corners, which I think Luke Metcalf last week and the week before has been real consistent of kicking balls to corners, playing that long game and allowing their middle forwards to just roll down the field and then kick off the back of them. And I think if they can pull that off, the Tigers will find it hard getting out of their own half, and they'll build some really good pressure, and their systems should be able to get it done.
You wouldn't believe this, but Betcha This Happens for round 4, odds of $95.14. I might just put a sly $2 on that one. $2?
Oh, I don't know. What do you get?
$2 gets me $190.28 back.
There you go.
That sounds pretty good. So we'll do that, and we'll review it same time next week on League of Our Own podcast.
Awesome, brother.
Good to see you, Blairy. Hope you have a good rest of your week, and who knows, maybe that multi comes through, eh?
Good luck, my man. Hope it all goes well. But yep, always good to see you, Goran, and rugby league, as always, is the winner.